Assalamu alaikum, you're listening to Unity FM on 93.5, the heart of the city. My name's Ibrahim Khan, and this is another episode of In the Studio. In the studio with me today, alhamdulillah, we are very blessed. We have a bit of a VIP in the house. He goes by the name of Sahil Adeem. He is a Pakistani public speaker. I've got here a consultant, a psychologist, a YouTuber, and a preacher. We'll be asking him about all those elements, all those facets to his role, to his existence, alhamdulillah. He was born in Pakistan in 1984. Sahil is the son of a famous Pakistani playwright and poet, Adeem Hashmi. He has three brothers, one sister. Alhamdulillah, he's married. And Sahil is also the CEO of Source Code. He's looking at me in a slightly odd way, which means that, have I got something right? Have I got something
No,
right?
I don't know how you pull this information out.
And he is a conduct therapist, so we'll ask you a bit about that. On top of all of that, of course, he has a huge social media presence with hundreds of thousands of followers and millions of views. So, my first question to you, sir, what brings you to the UK?
Not just the UK, I'm actually touring around the world, inshallah, for the Muslim Identity Tour. Actually, it's more of a superior psychology tour. I'm trying to change the way Muslims are actually thinking about what the next 10 years should look like. That's primarily a one-line vision. Things to do, things to set up as goals, prepare our strategies as men, women, mothers, fathers, businessmen, politicians, and students, every walks of life. We need to really come together and set it up so that we can get the next 10 years. And there's no more Palestine or no more of oppression that is going on right now. We need to set it up right now so that there is no more issue like whatever's going on in Palestine or wherever in Pakistan as well.
It sounds like a massive agenda. It sounds like a huge job. Tell me how you will go about addressing these issues. There's a lot there that you've talked about. Identity, international politics, community, Islam, religion. Like, how do you? I'm not asking you to go through an entire lecture, but can you give us you give us crystallization?
Sure.
Form?
There are 5 things, 4 pillars, and one change. One change is the change in the way we define Islam. My contention is that we've actually defined Islam wrong, and we need to really reset the prism on the way we look at the word Islam. And we've pretty much consolidated most of our philosophy into justifying ourselves as good Muslims or mu'mineen without even doing anything about whatever's actually going on in the world right now. There is no way that any Sahabi, if you were alive right now, would have been sitting around home thinking that, just raising a voice, as much as raising a voice is enough. This is not enough. I'm sorry. This is not how any common sense philosophy, let alone Islam, would let their people resort to, calling themselves as good Muslims or at par with the requirements of whatever our people are going through.
What do you mean by that? What does that look like in the sense that you need to redefine Islam? Are you talking about? So, do you see yourself as a reformer then, or a reviver then?
Well, reviver would be a lot of actions, right? Reformer would be changing the current philosophy, because the underpinning of the current philosophy is very Nicaic. It's pretty Christian. It's not Islamic. That's what my case is. We've actually gone back to the Council of Nicaea. We've actually left to our politicians the things to do, and we know that they're never going to do. And we think that that's our job, that to let or delegate the real actions to be done by our politicians. And that's where the flaw is. We delegating politics to our leaders, and them, we even knowing that they're never going to do anything whatever Islam is, what the Quran is telling them to do, and thinking that this is our job and that's it, that's the extent of our job. That's where the problem is. Politicians are not the problem. Wherever they come from, the kind of philosophy that brews into from Tunisia to Indonesia, you pick out any sample, you'll find the same disease in every politician and the people in power, not just the politicians. because most of the Muslim countries' politicians are not even in power.
Well, there's a famous saying, isn't it? Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about your journey, if you don't mind. Okay, let's kind of strip it down a little bit. We know why you're here, but let's get behind the man, as it were.
No, well, before we get that, because I said 5 things, right? This is the
Sure,
first thing.
please go
The
ahead.
first thing. The 4 things are the basic pillars of my movement: the moral acumen, moral capital, I call it; the mental capital, the IQ of the Muslim IQ; the political capital, people coming together, every Muslim coming together, every able-bodied Muslim man and woman coming together; and then the financial capital. All the people should be confident enough to actually go financially independent. Most of the Muslims are not. Actually, most of the Muslims are right where the black movement was in the times pre-Martin Luther King. This is what the Muslim landscape looks like to me in my lens and through my lens. That, we're financially not independent, hence we're not politically independent, hence any kind of person or any kind of group can actually rule over us. We just not, have enough legs to stand on right now. That's the problem. And since, Islam is not energizing us to actually go financially independent and hence politically strong, that's why any Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to come in, regardless of if it's a Muslim or not. Look at Jordan, look at Syria, look at, Syria is a very good case study. Look at Yemen, you know what I'm saying? You see a lot of little clusters trying to move around like a Brownian motion, But you do not see the core moving toward Islam, because the core is not in the hands of the Muslims. They do not have enough strength in their own hands to actually hold on to the core or shake the core. So look at Pakistan, look at Indonesia. You pick out any sample.
Why is this happening, though? I mean, it's not the what you call them your foundations, your fundamentals.
4 pillars, yeah.
4 pillars. So it's not, necessarily out of this world thinking. This is
it's basic common sense.
It's common sense. Exactly. So, although again there is a saying, common sense isn't all that common these days. But what I'm saying is that why have we not done this? It's not as if we don't have Muslim countries.
That's why that's the first thing. Out of the 5 things, the first thing I said was to redefine what Islam demands us or any Muslim to do. Otherwise, those 4 capitals, hold no value, right? So the first thing that we need to do is to actually resort to Islam as the motivator, the energizer to get these 4 things in our hand. If we're not, because this is where this is the chasm. The chasm is that Muslims, even though they are going to achieve these 4 capitals, they're not going to do it for Islam. Hence, they're not going to have an accumulative political body coming together. So they'll always be fragmented into different business. People will be fragmented all over, and there's so much money in Muslim in the Muslim population. From every country, you can find billionaires, but that's not their Islamic duty to consolidate their wealth towards a single mission or a vision. They do not have a single vision. Everyone's actually resorting to their own local masjid. They pray 5 times a day. If they do, they do. Okay, assuming that we're talking about the people who are actually practicing Islam. So once in 5 years, they're going to go to Umrah or perform a Hajj, and that's it. That's their Islamic duty is done. Even though they're going to feel bad about whatever's going on to the Muslims, they might just say something occasionally in some article, in some conference, some gathering somewhere. They're going to talk about whatever's going on every day on their own dinner tables with their own circles or wherever they are, but they're not coming together. And they do not have any reason to come together because the current definition of Islam does not make it mandatory for them to come together as force and apply that force.
What is their current definition of Islam?
That, leave us what is to Caesar unto Caesar and what is to the church unto the church. That is the current definition. Why do you think every cleric from America to Arabia to Africa, North Africa to the subcontinent to Malaysia, every cleric that you hear, he's actually making sure that the mass do not push the power to do something tangible about Palestine. Palestine is just a symptom. It's not the cause, right? So tomorrow something else is going to happen. Iran just about happened, right? It didn't actually happen. It just about happened. What do you think the Muslim Ummah was doing? Nothing. There is no movement in a single individual coming from the Quran, making it mandatory to actually, start doing something about it. They didn't even go to a level to say something about it. They're just busy making careers, even though Islam is forcing us to make careers. You know what I'm saying? As a community. So this is the core of the problem. The current definition of Islam is enough for them not to do anything. This was not enough for the Prophet ﷺ or the Sahabas. Okay. This is not enough for any movement, for any non-Muslim as well. So the current Muslims are in a state because their current Islam is enough not to do anything about anything going on around the world.
It's really interesting. I want to know where this kind of world view or this view has come from. What is it that on your journey that has shaped this argument, these pillars? Where have they come from? Where has this program of change, program of transition for Muslims come from?
From books of Sirah and the Quran. Where else? It's not a new idea. It's a 1400-year-old idea. So these 4 pillars are the pillars of Islam. This is what the Prophet did.
What motivated you in speaking publicly and debating and
I've never had a debate per se. It did happen.
I get,
I don't really.
Yeah, but what I mean is that the convention, Muslim convention, is going this way. You're debating. You're putting out there that it should be a change.
I'm the guy who's challenging.
Yeah, exactly.
I am the challenge. Yes, you're right.
Challenging the status quo in that sense. So, what motivates you to do that? Because I'd imagine you must seem like a lonely place at times, single man against possibly like I said, the status quo, the codes and the conventions are somewhat against you. So what motivates you to kind of make that stance?
Again, as Muslim, I know a lot of non-Muslims are going to hear your this program as well. As Muslims, we get our definition of common sense through the Day of Judgment. Every time you think about Day of Judgment, this one teacher of mine actually gave me this exercise. I was little. He said, 5 minutes every morning before doing anything, just close your eyes and assume that you are standing in the Day of Judgment. Now, you're going to start adding pixels to that picture by reading more hadith or more Quran about the Day of Judgment, what's going on with that whole landscape. The more we read Sirah, the more we read the Quran, the more we read the hadith, you find out that the corpus of the Quran, the main message of the hadith and the Quran is all about the Day of Judgment. It's actually landscaping it pixel by pixel every single time. Even the Quran itself, Aisha radiallahu anha, says that the first 8 years of the Quran, was all about the Day of Judgment, of Akhirah. Not even a single ahkam came in. All first 8 years of the Wahi was landscaping the Day of Judgment. As soon as Arabia was all set about what's that day going to look like, when the ahkam came, nobody took more than 24 hours to just abide by the commandments. We're doing the exact opposite. We're doing everything about the ahkam. Everyone knows just about everything that Allah has commanded, except making it a daily practice to train our little kids to our elders to imagine and mentally manifest that day right in front of us every day. So this is what is the answer to your question. What motivates me? Actually, it scares me. It should scare every Muslim that, the actual reality is about to happen. This is what the real question is. The first question on the Day of Judgment is, what were you doing when you had power? That's the first question of the Day of Judgment. Imagine how simple this process is. So if you're going to make a system and that system is going to challenge the current system, unless you're contributing towards making that system, even if you're a brick to the wall, doesn't matter. But were you making that brick? Were you a brick? Were you more than, God gave you the opportunity to become more than just a brick? Then did you take the opportunity? That's the only thing that you can possibly imagine. So once you get that idea synced in, then you're going to find out the second question of the grave, Madinuka. That's the real answer to this question. We're actually assuming that when the angel is going to ask us, Madinuka, we're going to be like, oh, Islam. It's not something that you can just, say. Madinuka actually means, what system were you building? Was that telling the current, the system that was going against Islam or not? Were you a part of this system? What system were you a part of? Now, you tell me any Muslim right now, can he actually answer this question? No Muslim in the current definition of Islam can even come close to even answering the question that I am a part of some system. We are not any part of any system right now, except, we're lonely beings hovering around, their own local, democratically flavored monarchies, which are being run from Egypt to Pakistan. So we're not part of any system. If anything, we are part of Sir Winston Churchill's system, who actually, put all of those lines on the map and, tried to tell us to be patriot towards, the area between those two lines. That's the kind of system that we're in right now. That's the answer, Madinuka.
A lot of people would say that, and it's prophetic. A lot of people would say the leaders are somewhat a reflection of society, of the community, which is why we're in a bad place, which is why you get these sorts of
very pessimistic
sorts of
way
leaders
of interpreting that ayah, because that's the ayah of the Quran. Right?
How would you interpret?
That's actually a motivator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is that it's somewhat a manifestation, because we're saying that the leaders are not particularly great.
Yeah, well, so are our children are the mirrors of whatever's going on in the house, right? That doesn't mean we start judging children, right? We start to change our own selves, right? Our children are the mirrors of whatever's going on in the mommy and daddy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just like that. Our leaders are whatever's going on in the mommy and daddy in the house, right? Every household combined makes up the fabric of whatever the leadership is all about.
Can I ask you about your family? I mean, tell us about your family and your upbringing, and how did it form the, let's say, ideological position that you have at the moment? How did it kind of, or was this something that came from books, from your teachers? How did it kind of, how did your family, what part did your family
Well,
play?
family was all about the Prophet ﷺ all the time, because we're from the family of the Prophet ﷺ. So it's like more of a thing of pride. But my father himself was the biggest challenge to the system on his own time, actually, so much so that he was exiled by the government of Pakistan. That's how he ended up in America. And when he came back, then the government changed. The new government called him specifically because, they were anti-regime. So 2 years in that tenure, he challenged that government. You're even worse than the last one. So we had to go back to America. That's the kind of
how old were you guys?
I was little. I was 2 when this happened, and I was 12, and then the next thing happened. So but that's the kind of man my father was, and this is the kind of encouragement you get from the culture of your own house. But you know what? Me talking about my family might just isolate people that, we don't have fathers like these. We have fathers who are practically midgets, psychologically, who are just on welfare somewhere or trying to abide by the system, or they're too afraid, they're too timid, so you just got lucky. That's not the real way of looking at it. We have a Prophet ﷺ who's the father of everybody. You know what I'm saying? He's the real father, encouraging every child of his. Okay, and it's not just me saying, it's the Quran saying that he's the father. You know what? This is the only way to look at fatherhood in Islam. So if you're not abiding by the real father and the way he brought the whole nation up, then it doesn't matter who's biologically responsible for us coming on this planet. It doesn't really matter.
I want to turn our heads to, you use the word logic there. I want to talk a little bit about Islam, logic and modernity. You often in your speeches and conferences quite often talk about logic, the logical stance, and logic being central to understanding Islam, at least, or being a major part.
Pivot.
Pivot of Islam is a good word, thank you. Can you explain what that means in practical terms?
Well, where do you think I came up with the 4 pillars? If you do not have money, you're not going to have politics. You do not have politics, you're not going to be able to change anything, right? That's just common logic. And it's applied from Adam al-Islam till today. It's not going to change. And we're designed by Allah Azza wa Jal to actually follow the dominant force. We are designed. That's the serotonin speaking to every era of the human beings. Every psychologist knows that. Every biologist knows this. Every Muslim now should know that as well. It is in our design to follow the dominant force. We're going to mimic it. We're going to mimic it so much that we're going to change our philosophy towards the broken philosophy of the dominant force, even if it is, if it has a broken philosophy. So let's just say any non-Muslim is going to be dominant, which is, of course, the current force is dominant. The dominant force is not of Muslims. So Muslims are going to change and adapt a new philosophy, which is not going to be Islamic, according to the kind of force that is exerted upon them. Right now, most of the force that is exerted to all the Muslims right now is not just non-Islamic, it's actually anti-Islamic. So we're naturally going to start mimicking the philosophy of our oppressors. This is how serotonin works. This is what mimicry is all about. You know what I'm saying? So Allah in the Quran actually speaks about
I'm just trying to unpick that. So are you saying that the way it is at the moment, that traditional Islamic scholarship that is being taught today, not necessarily traditional Islamic scholarship, but traditional Islamic scholarship in the way it's being taught today has somewhat failed to address those powers? So what I'm saying is that the picture at the moment, you're saying the change hasn't happened because of the forces that are being exerted upon us. Yeah, and we need to do the other way. We need to kind of be exerting.
No, you cannot.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Expect the Islamic scholarship to be.
So has it somewhat failed us then?
Somewhat. That was practically one of the primary reasons of Muslims going down, because they, you know what, they actually okayed us not doing anything in the guise of Islam. They okayed it. They should have been the first and only force.
How they okayed it? How they okayed it?
When did you hear any cleric asking the mass that you will be questioned for Palestine on the Day of Judgment? Actually, on the contrary, every cleric that you'll ever hear will be like, you won't be questioned, the powers will be questioned. Well, we are the people putting people in power, right? But not doing anything about that them being in power. We should be impeaching our prime ministers every day. Just because of Palestine, every Muslim country should be impeaching their people in power. I'm saying, come together, and they'll be, they'll have to wither off. On paper, most of the Muslim countries are democratic, right? On paper, so there's a lot of force. I mean, we saw what happened in Tahrir Square. I mean, it's not an exception to the rule. That is the rule. That's how things work. But you know what? Who's not actually letting Tahrir Squares go on? And I'm not for Tahrir Squares, but I know the underpinning philosophy there was. But the process is the same. You know who's stopping Tahrir Squares in every Muslim country? The Muslim clerics. They're diluting the whole, the energy. They think it's against Islam to actually, come together and, impeach these little Western midgets who are sitting in the thrones all over the place.
What about those clerics and imams, preachers, scholars who talk about, because Islam has lots of flavors. It has lots of, there's different brands of Islam. Some concentrate on dawah, some concentrate on the political aspect. You've got, for example, the Tablighi Jamaat.
These are two different, because I get that a lot. Dawah and political.
But what I'm saying is that the focus seems to be on, depending on the group.
What I'm saying is dawah should be for the political force. Dawah and political force are not two different things. Dawah is only for the political force. I mean, I'm doing dawah right now. You get everybody, to make more money, become more competent, come together, do politics now. This is dawah. What else are we, doing dawah for? Just, what they're doing? Just pray, be clean, do tahara, do wudu, do zakat, do hajj. That's not dawah. Dawah is to actually, change your current state. These are commandments of Allah Azza wa Jal. You reminding people of commandments of Allah Azza wa Jal, that means it's too late, buddy. If people don't know whether they have to do zakat, pay zakat, or do hajj, or pray namaz, that's a totally different ball game altogether. But most Muslims know that they have to pray 5 times a day. You take any sample from any place. Even the most leftist liberals know that, me not praying does not make me a good man or a Muslim. The dawah is already done. We just try to, satisfy our own tiny little egos by just, talking about page 1. Actually, that's not page 1, but page 1 is concepts. Page 27. That's all. It's just a placebo trying to satisfy their own egos. Let's just call a spade right now. The bigger problem is the definition of Islam, and no, uh, government of any Muslim country ever can say right now, because they know what their status right now is, that they are going to be the custodians of the definitions of Islam. They're delegated to the masjid, and the masjid is under the power of the throne. Every country, let's just pick out any country, African country, just pick Egypt, pick Morocco, pick Tunisia, pick Sudan, hell, even Somalia, wherever there was some sort of electricity going on in some place. Pick any. I don't want to pick Pakistan or Iran or Afghanistan or anything, because that would be like, since you're there, so you got a lot of desi thing coming out. No, I'm talking about anything. Let's talk about the mighty KSA. That's the prime example of how things go wrong, when people use clerics, like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm going to say kingdom in inverted commas. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The clerics are the only instruments MBS has right now. He's got no other instruments, and he's using it really well.
In your viewpoint, is there any country, is there any group, is there any sect, any philosophy that is doing it right, or doing it anywhere remotely right?
Well, I can name a lot of names, but those are not
Floor's
names.
yours.
I'll have to start with Salman AlAwliya. Let's start with him. We're in England right now. We can openly talk about Salman AlAwliya. I can do that in Pakistan, but you cannot even say Salman AlAwliya from Dubai to anywhere west of Jordan. Why is Salman AlAwliya such a hashish name? And why? Who's stopping us? We're talking about what Salman AlAwliya is all about, what he did and what he said. What's the problem? He's not a guy, right? He's a philosophy, right? He didn't say anything new. So why you think that's the problem of the politicians? No, it's the problem of the mass. I think if this sort of thing, Salman AlAwliya is Martin Luther King of America at his own time. Look what they did to Martin Luther King Jr., of course, Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. in America. Whatever happened to Martin Luther King Jr.? Not even 1% of this is happening about Salman AlAwliya in Arabia. Why? Because Islam is not energizing us. We do not have any vision or purpose to do anything about names like these. I'm not even saying Salman AlAwliya, okay? I'm just about AlAwliya. I'm talking about a lower degree. They're regular Muslims, classical clerics of Al-Sunnah, no affiliation of nothing. So what happened? What happened there?
I want to talk a little bit about the critiquing of Western thought, maybe Western philosophies. You've you kind of mentioned it a little bit there in about the external pressures. Is there anything that we can kind of take? Because you're saying at the moment it's the other pressures, and I'm assuming you mean by that Western pressure and almost kind of like social and cultural imperialism, right? Is maybe one manifestation of that. But is there anything? I
don't look at it like this, but yeah, go on.
But is there anything that we can take from,
I'll tell you.
From Western thinkers, Western scholars?
Even the South Americans in the ancient history have used dignity and harnessed dignity in energizing their people. Hell, even the Sumerians did that, for God's sakes. Okay, so it's not the Western imperial power. Okay, if there was because nobody actually praises the West as a moral force of any kind. Even the West doesn't do that. So if an immoral force is applied and exerted on a people unjustly, that actually becomes the energy, the positive energy. People come together under calamity and they move towards a certain goal, regardless of whether they're Muslims or not. Okay, this is an actual opportunity. Everyone has used this kind of oppression as opportunity. You know why Muslims are not using this Western oppression as opportunity? Because there's a middleman translating this oppression as a lid, as a manhole to the sewage that is brewed into the minds of our people in power. They're translating it. So it's Islamic not to do anything. So there is no force that's going to go against the Western imperial power exerted as sheer oppression. Palestine is just a symptom. I'm telling you, this has been going on I'm not suffering from any amnesia, right? Libya is an example. Somalia is an example. Sudan is an example. Indonesia is an example. Afghanistan is an example. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, we've been going through blood, shedding blood. Iraq is an example. Syria is an example. Your own Tony Blair came 12 years later saying, I'm sorry.
I wouldn't say he's my Tony Blair, but
No,
I
I
know
am in
he's
Birmingham, aren't I? I mean, I'm just saying. So what I'm saying is, this is supposed to be an opportunity. The more black in tone America gets in its philosophy, the better it is for a nation which is oppressed to start moving, right? But we don't start moving because it's not about that we think West is right or, we deserve it. No. Our middleman is translating a different definition of the movement.
Who's our middleman? Middleman being the clerics
The
and
masjids.
the masjids.
We've taken the masjid out of the power right now. And masjid is okay with it. Why is masjid okay with being powerless? Why? That's the problem.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, you're very...
Have you read about what happened to Abdul Aziz Tarifi? Do you know what's going on?
No, I'm not familiar with
Okay,
it.
well,
Would you like to highlight
No,
it?
no, it's all right. It's just a case study. It's such an amazing case study. When the masjid loses power and someone tries to actually reset the prism of how the masjid is supposed to be looked at, this is what happens. Again, another opportunity, but no one stood up. No one stands up for their own man of the same manhaj, firqa, same sanad. No one stands up because it's not Islamic to do that anymore.
Can I ask you a question? I mean, in terms of engagement, and you're clearly very passionate. I've seen some of your lectures and your pieces towards the media. Dare I say it? Maybe even a little bit confrontational. Critics might say that. How do you respond to critics who say, look, your style, although well-intentioned, might be a little bit alienating, and it puts people's backs up against the wall? What would you say to that?
I say whatever common sense. Yeah. The deeper the slumber, the more angry you get to the guy who's trying to wake you up. That's what I'm going to say.
Succinct.
Yeah.
What's your take on social media personalities and scholars who kind of adopt a more politically correct or popular/populist approach on social media? Well, firstly, I guess my first
social media.
My first question. My
this-
first question should be: Are you an advocate? Do you think social media is
It's a channel, yeah.
It's
an instrument. It depends on who's going to use the
So it
instrument.
depends on the user. Okay.
Yeah. But it's an instrument. But people are resorting it to social media as the only line of defense or offense. No, that's exactly the opposite of social media. Social media is just a book, a manual that we should use it as a manual so that we can teach and train people of what to do now. Social media is not doing anything. Okay. You got to do stuff. We got to actually put money in. Got to put blood in. Start mobilizing the armies. That's what social media should be able to do. But it's not going to do anything. We're not going to Facebook the hell out of Netanyahu out of Palestine, right? That's not going to do it. 2 billion tweets is not going to get IDF out of Palestine. So, but 2 billion tweets are going to mobilize some army against IDF, right? At some level.
It's an interesting one because, I mean, a lot of people are on social media. A lot of people say social media harnesses a lot of power. A lot of it is to do with sentiment, where sentiment changes. And we've seen, and a lot of it is to do with kind of being able to see what is happening in the world in real time. So what do you say about those who kind of say, look, this is potentially the future, for now at least, using social media as a means to amplifying a message or a philosophy?
I don't even want to use the word. I think it's not even allowed to use those kind of words. I'm not talking about curse words, but the kind of this angle towards looking at social media and the word sentiments, and all of that stuff. This is not going to cut it. Okay, that's very castrated view of talking about a nation. I'm talking about a nation of people who believe in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, okay? I'm talking about actions here, okay? So social media, if it's not training people to come into certain zones of action, and I as I said before, it is a good instrument to actually use to get people to know what to do. But just resorting to social media as something that is going to satisfy us as people who've done their job, I'm sorry, it's no. You writing about or saying something about something is not going to get the job done. You got to get the job done to get the job done.
Do you mind me asking, where were you educated?
I'm educated in Canada and America. I was schooling in America, in college, university in Canada. But yeah,
Right.
But
So
that does not mean that I do not know what's going on in the Muslim world.
No.
Yeah.
No. I dare not make assumptions. My question was going to be is that how important is education in terms of, and I don't necessarily mean education at, at higher institutions, university, but how important is education when it comes to trying to deliver the correct Islam?
It is very important. First of all, education is just a general word. I'm talking about expertise here. So expertise requires a certain education. So I'm talking about political science, for example. You can't just understand the global world order unless you read and study through experts about this. You cannot know how to make a $1 billion business unless you understand the way the economy of wealth and the power of network comes together. So you got to study and you got to get educated about it. Physics, for example, is the primary source of wealth in the history. Number one, by far nothing comes close to physics as the source of all wealth in this planet. But people don't even know about this. People don't even look at it from this. So you need education to understand these kind of concepts.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by physics being there?
You and I speaking on the microphone, right? Physics is behind this. And I came here in a car, the biggest industry in the world, automotive, NASA going up into space is physics. Me driving a car, you having all of this equipment. Everything that we use is made by physics. Us going into physics would have actually put money on our table, right? But you see how you go to the source of how
the apple falling on top of Newton's head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this should be an apple. This podcast falling on every sane man's head, trying to look at things in a different way. So physics is something, or mathematics is the mother of all subjects. It's going to teach us how to actually run computational biology, chemistry, and physics. So this is education, right? But unless you know why you're getting educated, you're not getting educated. It is that simple. Unless you can put something to some use, and that's when you get the book. You know what you were trying to achieve out of your life or your mission. That's when you're given a book. That's when the book actually matters.
So do you think that there's a crisis there as well then? Because you're saying there's an intellectual crisis amongst Muslims as well then? Because,
of course, yes.
Because clearly
mental capital, yes.
We don't understand
capital.
We don't
you do not have enough
the
IQ. And first of all, I'm not talking about physics or mathematics as the source of anything. I'm talking about the mission or the vision being the source of mathematics. Hence the Quran, hence the Seerah, hence the Hadith. We need to understand that the Quran is actually inviting certain subjects. Unless you know physics or mathematics, you can't even understand some ayahs. There are certain ayahs in the Quran, for Surah Takwir, for example. I can give you 100 of them right now, right here. You can't even understand the translation in English of whatever that expert translated this ayah into, unless you know physics. There are certain ayahs in the Quran which are only translate. You can only understand it if you are a deeper mathematician or a deeper physicist. This is the problem we're not trying to solve. Okay, start with the Quran and look at the Quran as a book of research. Okay.
But isn't that what they're doing at the moment? Well, maybe not a book of research, but
no, it's not.
But they're reading the
current definition of Islam actually forbids any research in the Quran. You know that. You should know that by now. No more tahqiq in the Quran. You should know that. Even though the Quran actually is forcing us to do tahqiq, right? أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ is the ayah of Allah Azza wa Jal. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ is the ayah of Allah Azza wa Jal. But you tell me if there is a research center. You know what? I'll break some news to you. Quran was never a book of research. It only happened twice in the history of Islam, by the way, that somebody actually started to open the Quran as a book of research and start to do research in the book for the sake of research only. This never happened in 1400 years, except two instances which generally pan out. They never panned out. Fakhruddin Razi, why is not his tafsir the most viral book in the Muslim Ummah? Why? You tell me. He's ostracized. He's practically ostracized. What is he? What is he not? Is he not from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah enough? Is he not a scholar enough? So you need to understand, whoever comes there is actually going. It's not about MBS or Netanyahu or Donald Trump trying to stop the Quran. And Donald Trump will never stop the Quran or MBS or anything, or Netanyahu. It's not in their playbook. Stopping any research inside the Quran is in the playbook of somebody else. You need to find that out. I would start with the Quran, reverse engineer mathematics to the Quran, physics to the Quran, biology to the Quran, political science to the Quran, astronomy to the Quran, chemistry to the Quran. That's how Muslim institutes should actually build themselves up, from the Quran upwards.
You talk a lot about politics, and I introduced you at the beginning as a public speaker, a consultant, a psychologist, a YouTuber, and a preacher. What do you see yourself as? What is?
I'm a reaction. Nothing else.
What does that mean?
Reaction to what the hell is going on in Muslims. That's it. You're gonna add a lot more titles. Like, if I live out, enough years, you're gonna have. Because I'm not gonna, leave any stone unturned. YouTube is today. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing tomorrow. Okay, so it's not about me being an expert of anything, because that would be just boasting my own resume in front of people. That's just against the very values of Islam. I'm not going to start talking about, how good or bad I am about anything. I'm talking about why I am, not what I am. Any and every man should be a reaction. Any sane man or a woman ought to be reacting to whatever the hell is going on with Muslims right now. Why aren't we? Why are there not enough reactions? That's my question. I mean, we are bleeding, we are dying, we are being oppressed by any and every angle by Muslims and non-Muslims, wherever you look at. And still we're okay? How are we okay? That's the question. Me reacting is not an abnormal situation. Most people not reacting is an abnormal situation. That's abnormal. These people should be in hospitals getting treated. Why are you not reacting to whatever the hell is going on around you guys? And I mean it. I'm not saying it as a joke or as a metaphor. People should be in hospitals getting treated. They are either under some sort of, they're manifesting post-traumatic stress disorder, nihilism, depression, or whatever. Otherwise, this current normal Muslim man or a woman doing everything normally every single day, that is a mental disease. That is an actual disease. If it were happening to any other nation, they'd be opening hospitals, not barracks or whatever they're doing right now.
So what would you say to Muslims then who feel, I guess,
I'd say
intellectually, politically, financially, all inferior, to, or intimidated might be a better word.
Inferior is the right word.
By the West and by the countries that maybe they have adopted.
Let me give you a scenario so that people would just because this is gonna, because I know the nerve to hit here. Tomorrow China takes over the world. Okay, what it does, takes over, let's just say, the eastern side, and then goes to the middle, and then just walks its way into the Atlantic. It might as well, right? So we would still be doing the same things. It's not the West. There's nothing attractive about the West except, the monetary side of it, the liberal side of it. China would be as liberal as anybody else, going out, conquering territories, if it were. I'm just giving you a scenario. We'd still be bowing down to the Chinese. If Russia does it, we'll be bowing down to the Russians. It doesn't really matter who's going to take over, unless, of course, we do something about whatever we're going to do about this. So it's not about the Western attraction. It's about the attraction of technology, mostly. Primary factor of why the Muslims are actually attracted to the West is the technology. Now, China is coming neck to neck, maybe even, I don't know what's going on behind, those doors, which no one's been able to open up till now. So it's about us so okay with the fact that no matter who comes on top, as long as we're going to make it on the day of judgment, then it doesn't really matter. So if someone starts shouting on some radio channel, which is in tune with every car moving around the Muslim world, that you're not going to be okay on the day of judgment, and that channel tunes in this program every single day, that wake up, you're going to be standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. You will be questioned as, why did we give you 2 hands and 2 legs and a thinking brain, and you still didn't do anything about whatever's going on within the Muslims, within the planet Earth? Then you're not okay in this situation. You're a dead man on that day, or a dead woman on that day. You will see your own kids burning in hell. You'll see your own folks, mother and father, burning in hell. And unless you do something about it, that's when the change is going to happen. Otherwise, if somebody comes in and says, you know what, hush, it's all right, man, this guy is just a nutcase. It's a loose cannon flying around, trying to make a point just because he wants some attention or some sort. He still have to prove that the Quran is okaying this current status quo. The Prophet ﷺ is okaying that current status quo. The Sahabas in their time okay this sort of a status quo. Unless he has that kind of a case built up, then I'm sorry. It's just a sheer common sense I'm actually inviting for people. I'm talking about the regular average Joe who can do 2 + 2 and be like, yeah, you know what? If it were to happen, if the shoe was under the foot, I would rather have a reaction. You know what I'm saying? But it's just the fire has not come to Pakistan or India or Afghanistan or Indonesia or Malaysia right now, and just the Palestinians are burning. Everyone's okay. If it were Jordan or Saudi Arabia, Palestinians are not capable to shout that loud. Otherwise, they are reciting the Quran. I swear to God, they're reciting the Quran. And they're reciting it really well. They're reciting it in the most appropriate manner. No one's listening to their Quran. It's not about media of Israel blocking whatever's going on. It's about media of Muslims blocking the Quran coming to the ears of the Muslims. I'm just asking, why are those very clerics not okaying it right now? I'm talking about politics here. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about stripping them off of their power, all of the Muslim powerhouses in every country right now, and putting masses, connecting them together, and make, just like, what NATO did. It's the finest example of a model NATO did. NATO is operating under the model of Umar al-Khattab right now. If they can do it, and that's okay, and that's pretty liberal, and if Muslims do it, all of a sudden we get tagged by, as if we're like whoever. Are you kidding me with this? This is as Khilafah as it can get. Consolidate the army, consolidate the currency, consolidate the resources, move whenever, when council is going to tell you, the council is NATO in this case.
One gets attacked, and then we will.
Everyone's gonna get attacked. Consolidate the army. There's a pact of allegiance between every country of Europe. I'm sorry, this is just common sense. As I said before, if the shoe was on the other foot, we would be demanding exactly what the Palestinians are demanding.
We haven't got very long left, Brother Sahil. So just a few quick fire questions, and then I'd like a kind of a synopsis at the end, and some advice to maybe the youth out there. I mean, speaking of the youth, before I get into that, what kind of reaction, anecdotally speaking, I'm just kind of gauging your ideas, your speeches, your execution in your ideas seem to gain a lot of traction with the youth, and dare I say it, maybe ruffle up some feathers in
the elderly,
in the more mature. Let's just say,
call it what it is. The elderly, or I should say the weak.
What are your thoughts on that?
I actually invite the youth that, in the name of Allah Azza wa Jal, come on, you have to divorce the philosophy of our elders. Okay, the last 2 generations were the most castrated generations in the history of Islam. You got to divorce the philosophy of the elders and set up your own empires now, for God's sakes. It's high time that we come into unity, power. Every Muslim should be connected to each other, everyone, and no exceptions, nobody left behind. And that's only going to happen unless, of course, you divorce the philosophy of our elders, because this is our elders who actually fragmented us. They actually pitted us against each other. Okay, we've been competing with our own cousins, for God's sake.
But what about those
what
arguments? Whose the elders are the ones who laid down the foundations for the people in the UK at least.
Okay,
the masjid, the masajid,
really, masjids in the UK are the only masjids I've ever seen fighting with each other. You call them masjids? Let's just call a spade a spade. Muslims in UK, I've never ever seen this happen in any country in the world. Even Pakistan does not have these sort of lines drawn. It's like, it's like the Third World War going on in UK about Muslims fighting with each other.
Some quick fire questions then.
And you know what? While on that topic,
sure,
I can understand that in Pakistan, India, or wherever, those kind of masjids have that kind of power because of the ministries are involved. In King Charles, England, you let those little boys come in, take over your masjids, and they're kicking you out, and you're just letting them call the shots in England? Are you kidding me with this? You guys went to Cambridge and Oxford. You studied the Quran yourself. You can do 2 + 2 your own self, and you let that guy who can't even cross this road. He can't even cross the road properly, and he's calling the shots on you. The way you're going to behave in your masjid. Masjid is not his property, okay? Masjid is the property of Allah. You're the one who actually pays for that masjid and his salary. I can understand that happening in Pakistan or India because there's no literacy there. Here in England, that dude is actually calling the shots and the way your your day of judgment is going to look like. Are you kidding me with this? So who do you think I blame, the youth or the elderly?
I think you've made it more than clear where you stand on that. A book that changed your life. Quick fire round.
Sira.
A misconception about you you wish people would stop spreading.
About me?
Misconception.
There's so many. It's all right. Let it happen. Doesn't matter. Because you know what? Even if I stop it right now, I don't even know where to begin. But, just the general misconception about me is that I am unrealistic. Whatever I'm trying to achieve is unrealistic. But, that's exactly what was said to the Prophet ﷺ when he started. His Prophet said to every Prophet ﷺ when he starts, it's all right. That's a Muslim thing to do. The kind of realistic cancer that we've actually developed into, there has to be an overwhelmingly unrealistic feeling coming in. Because, if I tell you that you got cancer right now, you're going to go in denial right now. You're going to die in 6 months. The first reaction is in denial, go into denial. That's okay. That's why I feel unrealistic to people. Me, have you ever paid a dime to Facebook? No, you haven't. But nobody pays any money to Facebook except the exceptions. But that still makes Zuckerberg a billionaire, right? Just like that, Muslims coming together, network coming together, a stronghold of Muslim money, putting everybody in a power position is not unrealistic. It happens every day. Everyone's on Bitcoin. That little cluster became a trillionaire. That's not unrealistic. Okay? It's very realistic. They just are not educated enough how these things work, how politics actually work, how money actually works, how IQ actually works, how network actually works. That's why they just keep telling me that this is unrealistic.
My last quick fire question is, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
I would have been, if I were not doing this, I'd be on the way to hell making billions of rupees or dollars in running companies, which I was on the track of so many times I got the opportunity. I was on a chief track of one of the biggest companies in the world right now. Okay, I could have been a CEO of that company. I was on that track. So if I were not going towards that track, which is directly going towards that, because I'm telling you this right now, nobody was thinking about the day of judgment in those realms. And I was thinking, this is the power, this is the sedation. They've been sedated to a level where, money talks about money answers any and every solution, problem that you're ever going to face. And this is what most people are suffering from right now. And I'm not telling you, again, I'm telling you, and I was thinking wrong. I'm just telling you, all the people who are trying to make a career, I need Muslims to make careers. I need Muslims to become billionaires, but with a totally different vision. and you're gonna make a lot more money, a lot easier if you actually look at what Islam demands you to do. This is exactly what I gave you an example of Facebook or Bitcoin or any cluster that comes together. So I would have been probably doing a lot better in terms of career, but I would have been regretting every single day of it, and I was actually till the day I quit. Actually, you know what? It was a big bad black day of mourning in my company because I still have it's practically my family. I spent 2 decades in telecom. I mean leaving everything, doing things like this is not easy in terms of that mindset. But it is the easiest thing right now for this current mindset I'm in right now. Once you transit, you don't even feel it. If somebody paid me $1 billion right now to go back, I wouldn't even think twice about throwing it away. This is not even an option anymore. I'm telling you this right now. I'm raising a son. I'm raising daughters. My only plea to people who are raising kids, that's what I'm saying. I tell this to my son as well, that unless you leave the only Prophet ﷺ said that the only thing of pride on the day of judgment is the numbers you're going to bring in. Okay, that's my only element of pride that day. So try and bring numbers in towards heaven, towards the word of God, towards the mission of God, towards Islam, towards the Quran. So that's the kind of billions that we should be aiming for, or not the kind of billions that we are currently aiming for right now.
And my last question for today, inshallah, is for advice, tips, but advice for those people who are listening to this interview right now, in their cars or at home. And your advice can be whatever you want it to be. It can be around education, Quran, Sunnah, identity, empathy. Floor's yours.
I know what you guys are gonna go. I know I'm not talking to the boy or the girl who's gonna start thinking alone about whatever I just said. And I know some are, and some will. It's going to be tough. I'll tell you this right now. You are going to run out of tears. I swear to God, you're going to run out of tears. You're going to run out of even blood in the wake of all of this. I'm telling you this right now. Spend every morning thinking about the day of judgment, standing there in front of the creator of everything. In front. Just imagine that for just 5 minutes, not 6. Not 4, but 5 every morning. Do nothing else but just spend 5 minutes every morning. I'm only asking for 5 minutes. Just look at your own Lord looking at you, asking questions. Those very questions should make you run out of tears in this planet. And you will. I swear to God, you will run out of tears because you'll have to leave your family. Your own family will leave you. I'm telling you this right now. Your kids, your wives, your mothers, your fathers. I don't want you to leave them, but I'm telling you, it might just be the price. It might just be the price because that's only the first step. The next step is going to be even harder. And the step following that, even more. So, Shafi'i Rahmullah says, if the path that you're walking on is smooth enough, that's not the path of Islam. The path of Islam is not smooth. There is no cruise control in for any Muslim, not in these times. Okay, so you want to make that journey. I'm telling you this: there is no honor in this world. There is no money in this world. No glamour in this world. No ease in this world that you're gonna get in this journey. I'm telling you this right now. You might just be an unknown guy trying to do whatever it takes, and no one's even gonna know you. But on that day, I'm telling you this right now, on that day, I do not know what's going to happen after those moments when Allah is going to ask you those questions, because I do not know. But during those questions, I'm telling you this right now, every single second that you're listening to this podcast or whoever or whenever you're going to read the Quran, every single second will be replayed in front of you as if time has stopped, and your brains will be opened up that did the message not come to you? Did this not make sense to you? Did someone not say exactly what I'm asking you right now? What made you stop in your own footsteps? What are the reasons why you did not do what that price this dude was talking about that day? I'm telling you this. This is as real as it gets. I swear to God Almighty, this is as real as it gets in this planet. You will run out of blood. I swear to you, you will run out of tears. You will run out of, any and every ounce of energy, and still you gotta go on. You still gotta go on. This is the path of, this is the path of Islam, right? This is why I'm telling you, you have to reset the clock on Islam. These people have ruined it for us. I'm telling you this. I'm not being ungrateful of them making us Muslims. I'm not being ungrateful of the good that these guys have done to us, but that was their job. Okay, nobody did any favor in the name of Islam. You need to do favors to the next generation in the name of Islam. You need to do this because they packaged it in the name of Islam, and that's why we're not doing it. That's my resentment towards the last few generations. They packaged it in the name of Islam and they made sure that we do not do anything which is going to make us lift our heads on the day of judgment. And this is my contention. So you got to reset the whole clock. You got to redo the whole journey. You got to turn around. I'm telling you, you got to turn around. That's the exact opposite of what Allah Azza wa Jal told us to do. Turn around, start walking. Don't worry, you're going to make it. I promise you're going to make it. Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran said, I am going to walk 10 steps towards you if you just take one. You're going to make it. I promise you. But you got to do whatever. I'm telling you, this is painful. So if you don't want that kind of pain, you don't want to cry, you don't want to bleed, just go around, man. Just tune off this channel. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Sahil Adeem, I think we'll leave it there. Jazakallah khair. I know you're a very, very, very busy man. Thank you very much for taking time out, spending it with myself and with our listeners and with our station. And inshallah, we'd love to have you back.
Anytime,
when you're back in the UK.
Even if I'm not here, just we can do this online. Just don't. This is my life. Okay, this is my life. So don't ever hesitate. I don't mind inconveniences, but I mind is that opportunity lost. This is an opportunity to get the message across. Inshallah, just let me know.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.